Okay, today was a bit of a burnt out day, honestly. It was hard to motivate myself to like sit down and do things just across all of life. But today I sat down, but and when I have days like that, oftentimes where I really sit down like in front of projects and feel like God, I don't know what comes next, and I don't. It feels like work doing this. It feels like what is actually probably most productive for me is just pull up Serum, pull up Vital, make some sounds. So I made 4 different sounds today. The first one I put in the MIDI and then built a sound around it. It sounds like this. Wrong one. This is a pretty cool sound. This is a pretty cool sound with a few different things going on here. We started with a detuned 4 unison sine wave here. It's a very wide sound. If we take a look at it in the meter here, I was actually spending maybe more time on the uncorrelated side of things, which, how big of a problem that is, I don't know. I haven't listened to this on speakers. I've just been listening to it on these headphones, and headphones kind of make wide sounds sound better. It's easier for them to sound good. So if you're listening on studio monitors, maybe that sounds really bad to you. Let me know. But we mainly start with this detuned sine wave is where most of that's coming from. We have a little bit of asim going on here. And it's just moving around with, which guy is it? This guy here, just this real simple, just up and down, just to give it a little bit of motion there. And then with the kind of pitch bendy sort of stuff you hear, is 2 things. It's this guy, kind of a normal Virtual Riot style pitch envelope, pitch map here, and this is attached to the master tune, but it's also attached to the filter cutoff here of an all pass filter, and gives if we bypass the master tune here and turn this off, still a lot of that shape is coming through, and that is still just this all pass filter here. Which if I turn off this as well, now most of that shape is coming from that right there. This definitely helps though, having to do the master tune as well, kind of accentuating that effect there. A few different rhythms happening here. This guy combines with this guy, both on the level of the noise here, to give us that. And just such a little texture that, like, honestly, it's the sort of thing that I don't know if really this is the best place to put this. I do this when I am kind of working in just like one sound. Oftentimes I'll put a little hi-hat basically on the noise, and it's cool that I can do that all in Serum. But if I were to actually start to use this sound in a song, it would probably quickly become annoying that I couldn't separate the two, and I probably would end up duplicating the channel and like muting the oscillators on one channel and muting the noise in the other, and just having them be 2 separate channels so that I could turn it on and off a little bit more easily with MIDI. But here it creates a nice little texture there. This guy over here, where are you? This guy on an 8-bar loop is bringing up the level of our 16 voice detuned tight square wave here, which is what you hear come in and out there. That, if I put this on trigger, that voice is pretty cool. And it's not just that, but it's also the mix of the reverb. So the sound is generally pretty clean without reverb, but there's just this moment where it pops up with those extra voices that come in. You can hear there's more reverb there. And the reverb comes back down. But with how long these chords are kind of just sustained, you don't really... I don't notice that the reverb is kind of missing in this spot. It feels fine. And it just kind of makes these little guys feel like kind of an ocean wave just coming over. That's pretty cool. So this sound was a lot of fun to make. The only other thing that's happening is kind of the classic thing I've done a number of times of put this little equalizer notch. It's on this guy here. And that little octave jump. And this seems to be one of the most effective ways to make what feels like a complex sound in Serum is have a few different kind of rhythmic ideas all happening at once. And obviously I could put even a third or like a fourth rhythmic idea in the MIDI if I didn't just have them be these long holding notes, but actually have them kind of like doing some sort of chop. You know, like... This is just something like you could make this even more complex, but this sounded pretty cool. This is, though, admittedly, the sort of sound I make a lot, or I have these kind of like long chords. This is all, you remember the Virtual Riot video, like what if we used 100% of Serum? This is very much riffing off of that, and I make that sort of sound a lot, where a lot of the techniques that I used in that sound are exactly like just directly techniques he used in that video with the sound he made. And while it's nice and complex, it is just only kind of one idea. So I tried to make like some very distinctly different ideas. This bass is pretty fun. It is a very wave punk sound. A much simpler sound as well. This is just a sine wave, a much simpler sound as well. It's a sine wave that is FMing into another sine wave, and this LFO is moving how much it's being FM'd. So you watch it going up there. And then over here, some distortion. Some big distortion is making that a lot more aggressive. We turn off the distortion. It's fine, but it's nothing quite compared to the aggressiveness of this. The equalizer just kind of is really just EQing. It's just bringing up some of the top that's, I think, getting destroyed by the distortion, some reverb. And then this filter is the last thing that's kind of doing anything here, just on kind of the top end, putting a tremolo. Pretty cool sound there, and then the compressor at the end to help kind of bring it all up and cut down on the volume increase that happens as this FM goes up. Next, the sound I like probably the least. Also kind of a wave punky sound. I don't know, I still don't love this. And maybe I did this like... Why that sounds like that when you turn the filter off, I have no idea. Is there something about the bass that's destroying it there if I bypass this guy? It doesn't really make it that much better. This filter is just moving the cutoff here of, or this LFO is just moving the cutoff here of this filter here. This is kind of a riff off of the other bass idea, where instead of having a sine wave FMing into another sine wave, we have it FMing into 15 voices of this notched square, which creates kind of a cool sound and is made a little bit more aggressive by how much is being FM'd by this sort of trance gate. I think the sound probably actually works better at a slower tempo, because I do think this is maybe a little too slow, but this is too fast. And I think doing this via FM, by modulating the FM knob, is probably causing a lot of noise, because it does still kind of, you can watch it like slide, like it moves. And I think the sliding through that FM amount is creating a lot of noise in between, like just as it goes down this what seems like an instantaneous line, it creates a lot of noise, and it does that every time it goes up and down, which is why that feels so messy. But yeah, this is, I do enjoy that sound. There's not a ton going on here, just distortion, some compression, and then the filters as you see them there. Yeah, I kind of walked through this one. This one, I don't know if I'll use that much. I did like this sound, though. I went to Vital for this one because I wanted their key tracking feature on the filters, and I was, as I kind of came out of that third sound, I was like, well, I've been making the exact same type of sounds over and over again, like transgated, sort of power chordy sounds, big, Reese, wobby basses, and that Virtual Riot kind of chord synth with all sorts of different textures. Let's try to make something else. Sort of a pluck sound. Which sounds a little... This sounds pretty fun. I don't know about the distortion necessarily. I'm also not entirely sold on this specific shape, but we have two different things kind of modulating this filter too, which is creating the majority of the shape. If I turn this guy off, becomes a lot more boring. This guy is a comb filter technically, and this is something that we learned from Chime about, like, use comb filters, try comb filters, especially as like a secondary filter, and see how that goes. And so the experimenting with that here, we have the key tracking here for this guy, sort of shaving off a lot of the top end. And then this guy is moving around with this Perlin random, as well as this LFO here. Again, it's just not a complex sound really at all. And a lot of the sound is just coming from the effects here. The multiband at the end of the chain, bringing the reverb tails really up. The chorus as well, just adding some dimensionality here. This filter actually can be turned off, it's not on at all. And yeah, the one kind of fun thing is if you move this, you get to hear different sounds, and it's really cool to me, especially over here, if I turn off the distortion, how much this sounds like a marimba. The top end, or like boomsticks, if you ever played those like in kindergarten. I like those sounds. So yeah, these are all just cool sounds I'm going to save as presets and maybe pull up in songs in the future. I could see this one definitely. I could see this one really. I could see this one working like drum and bass. Oh, that could be cool. So, yeah, made some sounds today. Tried to get my focus right set up to my computer. I'm struggling to find the power cable. I would love to have a microphone plugged in. Also have the ability to track guitar really easily. And with the project we started yesterday, I think that'll probably make it easier once I get back the vocal stems from my sisters. So yeah, lots of fun projects going on today, but mostly just making sounds here and trying to get better at sound design. So that's all I have time for today. Thanks so much for watching. See you guys tomorrow. Bye-bye.